I'm an urban explorer, and some might call me a thrill seeker or a trespasser, but I like to think of myself as someone who appreciates the hidden corners of the city. My favorite spots are abandoned places where time seems to stand still. Old factories, defunct amusement parks, and crumbling warehouses. I often go exploring alone, but occasionally I invite my friend Jenna along. She's not as obsessed with urban exploration as I am, but she enjoys the adventure and brings a sense of calm when things get a bit too intense. Last week, Jenna and I decided to check out an old deserted subway station I'd discovered on an old city map. The station had been out of service for decades, and from what I'd read, it had been used for storage after the subway system expanded. We arrived just after dark, around 9 p.m. The station was eerily quiet. The only sound was our footsteps echoing through the cavernous space. We made our way down to the platforms, which were covered in dust and old graffiti. The place seemed frozen in time, with old advertisements peeling from the walls and rusted ticket machines left to decay. I was excited to explore every nook and cranny, but Jenna was more interested in capturing the atmosphere on her camera. As we walked through the darkened corridors, we noticed something strange. A new set of graffiti on the walls, not the usual random scribbles, but elaborate and intricate designs that looked freshly painted. This was odd because I was sure the station had been untouched for years. I took out my flashlight to get a closer look and noticed that the tags had a distinct pattern. They seemed to be telling a story, a narrative of some sort. Jenna and I were intrigued, and as we continued exploring, we heard a faint, rhythmic thumping sound coming from one of the abandoned service tunnels. It sounded like something heavy being moved, or maybe even something being built. We exchanged glances, our curiosity piqued. I wanted to investigate, but Jenna was feeling uneasy and suggested we should leave. I convinced her to check it out just a little further, and we followed the sound down a narrow, dark tunnel. The walls were damp and the air smelled musty, but we pressed on. The thumping grew louder and more erratic until we reached a small, hidden room. To our surprise, it was filled with old, dusty furniture and what looked like a makeshift workshop. There were tools and painting supplies scattered around, along with several unfinished murals on the walls. It was clear that someone had been here recently, but who? As I examined the murals, I noticed that they were strange, depicting scenes of people in distress, cryptic symbols, and ominous messages. One of the paintings even featured a figure that looked remarkably like me, painted with exaggerated fear and confusion. I took a few pictures, feeling a mix of fascination and unease. Just as we were about to leave, we heard the distinct sound of a door slamming shut somewhere deeper in the tunnel. The thumping stopped abruptly, replaced by a chilling silence. Jenna grabbed my arm, her face pale, and urged me to leave immediately. We bolted back through the tunnel, and as we reached the main platform, we heard footsteps following us from behind. I glanced back, but the darkness revealed nothing. We finally made it back to the exit and fled to the safety of the street. Our breaths came in rapid gasps as we reached the surface. The whole experience had been surreal, and Jenna was visibly shaken. I felt the same sense of dread, but was too fascinated by what we'd found to be scared. A few days later, I returned to the station during daylight to take a closer look at the murals and the workshop. I was hoping to find some clues about who might have been there, but the entire room was gone. The furniture, tools, and paintings had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a clean, empty space. What was even more unsettling was the realization that none of the new graffiti was there anymore either. It was as if someone had meticulously removed every trace of what we had seen. I'm still trying to make sense of the whole experience. Was someone deliberately trying to scare us away? Or was there something more sinister at play? Sometimes, when I think back to that night, I can still hear the echo of those footsteps in the dark, and I can't shake the feeling that we were being watched. I haven't gone back to that station since, and The thought of what might have happened if we'd stayed longer keeps me awake at night.